How's it going? This is Hoiman, and today we're taking a look at the S.H.Figuarts Cure Marine figure. So this is actually one of the first pre-cure figures where the box is actually quite big, and that's because of the hair, which I'll get to in a bit. But for now, you have the nice window display to see the whole figure inside, and then the box is a nice blue colour scheme, and you have really nice flowery patterns as well for the sides, as well as pictures. And then the window does extend to the top. And you have legal stuff for the bottom. And in the back you have various pictures of the figure. And then it also advertises Cure Blossom as well. And to open the box, just lift open the side flap. And then lift open the front cover. And there's the figure all together with her accessories. So here's the actual figure itself, and this is actually one of the earlier figures in the line. So the sculpt and joints can look a bit dated now, but for the most part it's still a very nice looking figure overall. So taking a closer look at the face, I feel that they really captured the likeness of the character. Looks just like her from all angles. And then we come to the hair, which is probably the figure's most eye-popping piece, but also the most downside to the figure, which I'll get to in a bit. But the front parts of the hair are softer material, so you don't have to worry about them breaking. And overall the hair is a nice matte blue finish with lighter and darker tones to really bring out the details. And then moving down to the outfit, you have the nice ribbon on the front with a nice glossy finish for the green heart. And then these ribbon pieces are softer material, so you don't have to worry about them breaking. And then moving down to the skirt, you have nice blues and lighter and darker shades to bring out the details in the sculpt. And then for the back, you have the nice straps as well, very nicely painted on. And then we move to the shoulders, which is nicely sculpted. And then to the forearms, you have nice flowery patterns. And for the most part, the paint is very nice and clean. And then moving down to her shoes, again, very nicely sculpted. Lots of detail here and there. And you have nice blends of blues as well for the tips. So for articulation, the neck is on a single ball joint, so she can look down about that much, and then she can look up only about that much, but the hair does restrict it. And now we come to the hair, which I mentioned is the main downside to the figure, is because there's so much hair going out to the sides, and it's so long as well, the whole piece is one solid piece. So that makes it really heavy. So for the most times, she always kind of tilts back just because of how heavy the hair is. And even if you try to pose the head going forward, it's just, for sometimes it does stay, but most of the time it will kind of fall back. And because the waist joint, I wouldn't say it's loose, but because the hair is so heavy, it does just, the waist joint isn't really strong enough to support it for the most part. So this figure isn't really going to be able to stand on her. So it is a bit of a downside, but it isn't too much of a problem. And because there's no joints in the hair, you can't pose the hair downwards to even out the balance. So it's always going to stick out to the back about that much. So it does make it really back heavy. But moving on, she can tilt her head side to side as well as twist. And because these pieces are flexible, it doesn't really hinder too much. And then the shoulder is on a ball joint. It's quite a long ball joint that connects into the torso. So you can move the shoulder around however you like. And then there's also a hinge, so you can bring your arm out to the side. And because the shoulder piece is a separate floating piece, it doesn't really hinder any of the articulation. And then you can bring your arm forward. And then bring your arm back as well. She does have the bicep swivel as well as a single elbow joint, which gets a lot of range. And then she's got the ball jointed wrists. And then the torso is a single ball joint, so she can lean forward about that much, lean back that much, lean side to side as well as twist. And although the skirt is a solid piece, it's sculpted very wide, so it doesn't really hinder the leg articulation. So for the hips, it's on a ball joint, so you can move them around however you like and also twist. And then the hips themselves are on ball joints as well. So you can bring it a leg out to the side, which is quite a lot. You can kick forward, kick back, as well as the thigh swivel. And then she has single jointed knees, but you get a lot of movement. And then finally she has the ball jointed ankle. So you can go back that much, forward that much, tilt side to side as well as twist. And then these pieces are a separate floating piece, so it doesn't really hinder the articulation too much. So although she's an older figure, she still has pretty much all the articulation you'd expect a Figuarts figure to have. But I will say some joints are a little bit loose, like the shoulder joints are a bit loose, and then the torso joint isn't super loose, but it's not strong enough to support the hair on the back. But other than that, she still gets a lot of range of motion. But that's the figure. Let's take a look at the accessories. So for accessories, she comes with a default happy smiling face, a regular smiling face, and then an angry shouting face. And because this is an older figure, swapping out the faces is a bit more difficult, but isn't too much of a problem. For hands, she comes with a pair of open palmed hands, 2 fists, 2 more open palmed hands, 1 pointing hand, another open palmed hand, 1 hand to hold her weapon, and then another open palmed hand. And then she does come with this extra neck joint, which is the same joint, but it just doesn't have the hinge. So this is so that it can support her hair a lot better, but it does help a little bit, but because the waist joint still isn't strong enough to support the hair, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. But it's nice that they included it. And then she comes with the actual weapon. And although it's really small, it's very nicely sculpted and there's a lot of detail in here. So you have the nice golds and glossy finish, but then the tip is an actual translucent piece. And then this piece here is a translucent part with all the colours inside. And it can also swivel as well, just like it does in the show. She also comes with a Precure box. It's nicely detailed. And then she also comes with a fairy. Again, nicely sculpted and detailed. And then she does have the ball joint for the head, so you can move it about. And then finally she does come with a display stand, which does have the character's name as well as a nice pattern. And then you have the stand itself to support the figure, which is greatly needed for this figure, so it's very nice that they included it. So my final thoughts are, although this is an older figure, some of the joints and sculpt does look a bit dated, but for the most part it's still a very nice looking figure. But the only main downside to the figure is the hair. She just can't support her own weight and just absolutely needs a stand to keep her posed really for the most part. And then because some of the joints are a bit loose, like the shoulders and the torso as well, she does have a bit of a difficulty maintaining her poses. But for the most part, she's still a nice looking figure and then comes with a good range of accessories, and overall it's a very good representation of the character. And then if you're a fan of the character or the show, then I highly recommend this figure as well. But that's my review. Thank you for watching and enjoy some pictures.